officially call the scheduled Planning Commission meeting of March the 14th of 2019 to order. We'd like to have the record reflect that all the Planning Commissioners are in attendance tonight. And I'm going to lead the Pledge of Allegiance, so we'll go ahead and do that now. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, now we'll move on to public comments. We would ask if anyone would like to address the Planning Commission. If you wish to address the Planning Commission about an item not listed on the agenda, the speaker's request form should be filled out with the minutes clerk prior to being heard by the Planning Commission. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. In conformance with the Brown Act, no action can occur on items presented during public comments. Do we have any public comments?
I have not received any speaker cards.
Okay. Then we'll move on to presentation items.
I'm going to turn this one over to Nikki Wetzel, but the first presentation item is going to be our Code Enforcement Quarterly Report.
And thank you, Chair Ludden, members of the Commission. I just want to take a brief moment to introduce the newest member of our community development staff. She's on the end there. Afrouz Rashidian is a management analyst. She works with the whole department, but a lot with the Code Enforcement Division. So either she or Dara will be coming to present the Code Enforcement Quarterly Report to you. And Afrouz has been with us since last September. She went to UNLV for her undergrad. She has a degree in criminal justice, and then she got a master's in public administration from Cal State Long Beach, and she's been a wonderful addition to it. And she's here to present the report to you.
Thank you, Nikki. Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. This item is the Code Enforcement Activity Report for the fourth quarter of 2018. During the fourth quarter, Code Enforcement added 101 new cases to the 29 cases that were carried over from third quarter of 2018. We closed the year out with 128 cases during the same period. We began the first quarter of 2019 with an active caseload of 42 cases. If you have any questions for me, I'm happy to take those now. Great. Oh, sorry, Gail. Thank you so much.
Our second report is from Public Works, and I believe you've met Taylor Abernathy at the last quarterly update. But here's Taylor to give us some new information.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. Again, my name is Taylor Abernathy. I'm a Capital Improvement Principal Civil Engineer here for the city. This quarterly report is to cover the fourth quarter of the 2018 year. We will be coming back shortly with a first quarter, as we've gotten out a little bit late this time. Hope everybody had a chance to review the report. Just to kind of highlight a few things, our CIP program covers the facility projects, traffic improvement projects, street improvements, environmental, and then parks and landscaping. To highlight a couple of the major projects we have going on, the Civic Center construction is moving along well. It is anticipated that we'll be moving in on time as planned in the fourth quarter of 2019. As part of that, the staff has been working on a street resurfacing and slurry seal program. Zone B is almost finished as we speak. That is what affectionately known as the boot of the city, from Ridge Route to the southern limits and from Geronimo to the freeway. In addition to that, the Portola Center Park super pad has been delivered by the developer, and staff anticipates that this project will be coming out to bid soon here in the second quarter of 2019. In lieu of that, I'm here to take any questions.
Much for that report.
All right. Thank you guys very much.
On our consent calendar this evening is approval of the minutes from the Planning Commission meeting of February 14th. So we need a motion on this.
I'll move for approval.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Call for the vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Okay, we're down to the public hearing, I believe. We'll turn it
Yes,
over.
Chair Ludden and members of the commission. Tonight on our agenda, under public hearing, we have 2 tentative tract maps and plans for a single-family neighborhood within Serrano Summit. And I'd like to give you just kind of an overview of the planning that's taken place so far on this project to kind of bring us up to speed before we start the actual public hearings on this item. So since 2012, the Planning Commission has reviewed site plans and architecture for homes within Baker Ranch, Portola Center, Parkside, Encanto, Brookfield, and the Whistler neighborhood. Tonight will be the first look at site plans and architecture for a project within Serrano Summit. Before we dive into the details of the plans, we're going to provide the Commission with an overview of the past actions taken by the City Council regarding the development of this master plan community. So Serrano Summit is located just east of our current location here in the City Hall, and it will soon be the home of the Lake Forest Civic Center. The land was originally owned by IRWD, who processed all the entitlements granted to date. In 2017, IRWD sold the property to Lennar. Serrano Summit was one of the 5 communities approved as part of the Opportunity 2008. Council approved a general plan amendment, zone change, and development agreement allowing the development of up to 608 units in Serrano Summit. In 2011, the Planning Commission toured the site as well as a host of projects in the Irvine area that had a similar medium-density character and ultimately recommended to the City Council to approve the following documents. First, the area plan, which provides the overall design framework of the project. Secondly, a use permit, which set forth the development standards, including setbacks, height, and parking. And lastly, a tentative tract map that established the grading and retaining walls that you can see on the site today. The tentative map and development agreement were later amended in 2016 by the City Council to enlarge the Civic Center site due to constraints on development imposed by the resource agencies. This, in turn, led to adjustments in the overall site grading plan. At the same time, the area plan and use permit were amended to update the residential product types due to buyer preference and shifting economic conditions. As I mentioned, in 2017, IRWD sold the property to Lennar, who will now become the builder and developer of the community. So with that as background, I would like to introduce Jim Neal of Lennar and his team. This is all the team here, who have put together a presentation on the details of the master plan community. And at the conclusion of Lennar's presentation, we'll formally open the public hearing on the 2 projects listed on your agenda and hear the staff reports for those items. Jim?
Good evening. My name is Jim Neal, and I am with Lennar, as Gail mentioned. I'm the Director of Community Development for Lennar. And as Gail just mentioned, Lennar bought the site from the Irvine Ranch Water District about a year and a half. And since then, we've been spending a lot of time designing our residential neighborhoods, our parks, the community center, and our architectural building plans. So we're now at that point we're ready to move forward and seek Planning Commission approvals for those final designs. So, and as Gail mentioned, she had asked us to put together a presentation tonight to give you a quick overview of the entire development for Serrano Summit, which would include center, parks, trails, and beautiful landscaping. And with that, Gail also challenged us to limit our presentation to 20 minutes. So we're going to do our best. We have a lot of information to cover, and then we can answer any questions you have at the end of the presentation. Also, I think, as Gail mentioned, following our presentation, city staff will present the staff reports and resolutions for your approval for our first tentative tract map, which is for the northern half. I guess I should be using this pointer here. So for this northern half, I got to get with my slides. The northern half of the site will be the presentation for just the tentative tract map tonight. And then, if this works, the blue section is our first residential neighborhood that we'll be presenting tonight, which is neighborhood 3, Amara, and that will be the tentative tract map and the use permit. And then we're currently working with city staff, and we've targeted to come back and see you at the May 9th Planning Commission hearing for the section that shows up here in green, which is our neighborhood 2 Soria, right here, and then our rec center, and then this our entry street. And then following that, sometime in the next couple of months during the summer, we'll be back to present the final 4 the use permits for these final 4 neighborhoods up here. So I'm anticipating that should be probably June, July. Next, I wanted to take a quick moment here just to introduce you to Lennar. I think this is going to be the first time Lennar's built in the city of Lake Forest. And so for those of you that don't know us, and I don't know if I can read that far, but Lennar was established in 1954. I think we've been around about 65 years now, and started building homes in California in 1996. We're obviously one of the largest builders in the country. I think actually now we are considered the largest builder, both in number of homes closed. You can see on the slide we closed a little over 45,000 homes nationwide last year, which ranks us number 1 in the country, both revenues and number of homes. And our local division, which is called the Lennar California Coastal Division, we've closed a little over 1,000 homes last year. And the division that we work out of here and that I work out of is located in Irvine, which is just right down the street, about miles from here. And so that I would like to turn over the mic to two with landscape architectural design teams. The first gentleman is Paul Hayden, and Paul is the president of C2 Collaborative, and Paul's going to talk about the landscape and the site designs. And just as a side note, we're currently finishing up a master plan community right around the corner from you, Irvine, on Irvine Boulevard, called Altair, and I've worked with on his team on that for 3 years. Turned over the clubhouse, our rec center, and our parks, and it's really turned out spectacular. If you haven't seen it, I wish you would go take a look at it. And then finally, after that, David Obitz will come up and he'll talk about the architectural design concepts. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Paul.
Good evening. Thanks for having me. I'll try and work this. I'm not very electronically oriented, so I'll do my best to make this work. As Jim mentioned, what I wanted to talk about tonight is really the plan itself and the nature of the plan and how strong it is and its features. And it's really wonderful. Oh, this is the pointer here. The middle one is the pointer. Excuse me. There we go. So this element right here is right here on our plan. So we have this beautiful boulevard as you enter the project. It's tree-lined. It's not loaded by house. About a quarter of a mile long. It's got a distinct nature to it that you just don't see in many neighborhoods in Orange County or in Southern California for that matter. So I think it's a really strong element of the plan. It has this beautiful kind of announcement of where you are that sits on both sides of the street. It has vertical trees on one side, which I'll talk about a little bit more as we go forward, and canopy evergreen trees on the other side. So when you get here, you know you are changing places, you're changing locations, and it's a pretty dramatic little boulevard, we believe. As you walk down the street, on this side of the street, as I mentioned, these are vertical deciduous trees, so they'll add accent to the street in terms of color. They also have flower. There's an edge condition that'll be also landscaped and complement that entry sensation as you walk through the project. On the other side of the street, these are evergreen trees that will be located on center planting. So we'll have a really strong regular planting on one side, informal vertical trees on the other side. But you can also see, which I wanted to point out, is there's another layer of landscape behind these street trees, which is really a beautiful element. It's like a second and third layer of planting before you get to the slope and before you get to the adjacent wall. So as you drive down this street, you'll have these trees, you'll have a series of trees behind it, shrubs, vines, flowering ground covers that really create a stronger scene that really gives you this boulevard sense that I mentioned at the top. As you travel down the street, you can also start to see our entry monument and the back here and this point here. The idea behind the vertical trees, their spacing in terms of an informal pattern that we wanted to allow views at certain points of the year and certain times to the views, to the mountains behind, to the hills behind, and also set up the view towards the entry monument itself. This is it here. It's large middle letters that float over a water feature here with a backdrop wall. And again, you can see our trees. So your experience as you drive down the street is very much a community experience. It very much says you're here in Serrano Summits before you get to the neighborhoods. We think that's pretty unique, and the land plan is really strong in that regard. Just past the entry monument is the Community Clubhouse building, which both David and I will speak about a little more in detail. It has a really strong architectural statement. You know, we think that the land plan also has this idea of how the community buildings talk to each other. It's kind of our public architecture on the residential side. If you look at the land plan here, you can see here's the community building, here's the Civic Center. So this language that these two buildings speak is really beautiful. I mean, it's not many people that can live in a neighborhood that has a Civic Center as part of their community. We think I think some people are going to be pretty excited about it. So that's this building here, and as I said, David will speak on that as we go forward. So we get to the land plan. I just wanted to point through the elements that we have here, and I'm going to have to go to my sheets because I'm like Jim and I can't read that far. So we talked about the community center building being located here. We have a south park here, a north park here, and this is the other part. Maybe I'll go back to this element. So while we have this language going on in the community between here, the community center building and the civic center building, we also have this park language. So whenever you turn on the street, you're either going to see park, open space, or community architecture. So we really think that's a strong element as this community lives and grows. This is the Civic Center site, as I mentioned before, and this is the trail that leads down, the Serrano Creek Trail that leads down to the Serrano Creek. 9 is the public facility. 8 is the IRWD. This is the native park, and this is the IRD facility right here. This is a neighborhood parking diagram. It's a little hard to see, I think, on this screen, but the colored lines represents parking in all the neighborhoods. Where am I going? There we go. Excuse me. These colored lines represent all the parking that's either parallel or perpendicular in all the neighborhoods. The chart here illustrates the spaces provided. The original requirement was for 1,347 spaces. This plan provides for 1,580 spaces, which is in excess of 237 spaces, which is a pretty generous parking allotment, we believe. In each neighborhood, and the parking is distributed equally between the neighborhoods. So for in neighborhood 1, you have 67 spaces in addition to what's required. In neighborhood 2, you have 33 spaces in addition to what's required. In neighborhood 3, you have 88 spaces in addition, 10 in neighborhood 4, 17 in neighborhood 5, and 22 in neighborhood 6. So that's a really good standard. Additionally, we should say that the plan also envisions 98 spaces that is not in that parking count along our entry drive. So it's a community that is well parked, well served, and visitors will be readily able to park whenever they come to see their guests. This is a pedestrian path of travel. Again, the illuminated areas, the colorful areas are sidewalks, trails, and walkways. You can see that they're connected to both parks, to the community center, and to the civic center. It also connects us to our trail as it goes down to Serrano Creek. And this is the nature park connection here. That is the IRD service road. It also serves as a trail that takes us to the park here. The South Park is well amenitized. It has a series of grass spaces that are in the front. It has a community sign. This is barbecue area that's here. This is an overflow area for seating and dining. A large children's play area. It has raised planters for seating for the moms and dads. It also has seating at the edges that can really serve that use as well. It has 2 half-court basketball with a mound of grass in the middle with seating. And then it has a kind of a walkway that goes all the way around it. And item 10 is also connected to the neighborhood trail, so there's access to this park from a bunch of different viewpoints. The North Park is similarly amenitized. It has turf areas here and here. This one doubles as an emergency access point, but this allows for free play, dogs, throw a ball, and we have that in both there and there. Again, it has 2 different levels of play areas for different age children, and then a barbecue center here as well, bike racks, water fountains, and so forth. It also shows you the connection to the adjacent residential use, again, as part of our community connectivity plan. This is a quick look at the Community Clubhouse. This is the building that we've mentioned before. It sits prominently on this corner. It reflects some of the curvature of the road itself, so it's really well placed and really well situated in terms of its visibility on the street this way and this way. There's entry to the building here. There's service access here. Parking to the facility is here. You can get from the parking into the pool in this locale right here. There are covered cabanas that are kind of grouped here. There are view cabanas here. This is a large swimming pool with swim lanes on this side, 0 entry pool, and this area is enclosed by fencing. Off the building here is an event lawn with a view area that has benches, tables, chairs, and fire pits. The community rental spaces are both covered here that show in this area, and David will speak about that a little bit more. And then there's outsourced space, so that this whole rentable space has a series of different indoor and outdoor spaces to facilitate those uses. It also envisions a couple of pickleball courts. There's access into this separately at this point here, and then an event lawn that is located there. So that is the Community Clubhouse. So that was really where I wanted to talk about the strengths of the plan and the community element.
Thank you, Paul. My name is David Obitz with KTGY Group, Architects and Planners. I'd like to introduce the residential and community architecture for Serrano Summit. Just quickly, the community key plan, it's really difficult to see. Here at Serrano Summit, a total of 537 residents. I think the aerial plan allowed up to 600, or well below that threshold. We'll go through the neighborhoods by how they're numbered. They're numbered 1 through 6, and they each have their own particular name. So our neighborhood 1 officially is Covera. And Covera, while I'm here, Covera are a series of Rowtowns, and these will be directly across the street from the new Civic Center. So we're excited to see those and see how they relate to the Civic Center, both architecturally and from a planning perspective. Neighborhood 2 is Soria, and that is single-family homes, small lot, that are organized around the South Park. Neighborhood 3 is Amara, and we're going to take a deeper dive into that later tonight, but those are the single-family detached neighborhood, conventionally lotted on 47 by 70 home sizes, home lots. Neighborhood 4 is Castellon. Those are single-family detached homes that are organized in a motor court cluster. Those are similar to Amara. They have some great opportunities for views to the west. Neighborhood 5 is Arietta, and that is our smallest, most attainable townhome plan, and those are organized around the central spine or trail system that connects to the North Park. And then finally, Oreste, and those are paired or duplex homes that are organized around a motor court. So we're super excited to be able to present the architecture. We hope the designs are going to be awesome and great, and we look forward to being able to appeal to a wide variety of home buyers, people who want to reside in Lake Forest, I think from first-time buyers to move up home buyers who are looking for luxury. Again, 537 homes proposed. First, we want to talk about the community center that Paul talked about. I just want to show and display the floor plan and some of the imagery, the architecture. Really, the community building is the hub of the community. It's 5,300 square feet of multi-sided clubhouse that welcomes you as you arrive from Serrano Summit Drive. The building embraces the roundabout and dresses community edges with enhanced and articulated facades. Lounge, clubroom, and multi-purpose room have strong indoor-outdoor connectivity. So this space, our lounge, our clubroom, our multi-purpose space, large expanses of glass, big sliding doors that really embrace the outdoors. Our climate here is phenomenal, except for this winter. But again, and all this orients to the west. So out here in the landscape plan, you'll see in this image right there is the resort pool, and it views out to the distant. This time of the evening, great sunset views, viewing through the landscape and out to the west. So we're super excited by that. You can see some of the architecture. It has really wonderfully enhanced materials, warm color palettes. Architecturally, we think it's going to relate to the Civic Center at City Hall with these strong cornice elements, stone, big, long, horizontal canopy elements. Some of it's difficult to see on this image, but interiors carry that same theme. So it's a similar architectural palette from inside to outside. Again, nice, warm materials. And kind of this cool contemporary vibe to the building. Wanted to be able to talk just a little bit more detail about each of the neighborhoods. So we're not going to order them numerically, but we're going to go through them in ascending order. So we're going to start with our smallest homes and work up to our largest. Again, Arietta is the smallest home. These are carriage townhomes. There are 2 and 3 bedroom townhomes with home sizes ranging from approximately 1,300 feet to 1,660 square feet. Again, 2 and 3 bedrooms. Architectural style relates to the area plan in that it's a contemporaneous interpretation of a ranch style, embellished with masonry, such as stone or brick, wood siding, and stucco exterior finishes. Our next neighborhood is Covera, and that's our next to the smallest, or next size bigger, and these are Rowtown Homes, 3 and 4 bedroom Rowtown Homes with home sizes from approximately 1,600 square feet to 2,000 square feet. Architectural style is a contemporary interpretation of Monterey and Ranch, with various color schemes are providing exterior embellishments. Besides the various color schemes, we're providing exterior embellishments of siding, stucco, and masonry. Our next neighborhood, kind of the middle of the pack in terms of size, is Oreste, and that is a duplex or paired home concept. And those homes range in size from 1,800 square feet to 2,275 with 3 and 4 bedrooms. And the architectural styling is Ranch, Spanish, and Monterey. And then next to the biggest is Soria, neighborhood 2, and those are compact single-family detached homes with 3 to 4 bedrooms from 23 to 2,700 square feet. Architectural styles range from contemporary, Spanish, hacienda, and modern. Very excited about these as well. And Castellan is our cluster court single-family detached homes, luxury appointments, larger size from 1,920 to 3,300 square feet, 3 and 4 bedrooms. Again, many of these home sites will have great views to the west, sunset views and city lights. Architectural styles range from contemporary, Spanish, hacienda, and modern. There we go. And then finally, Amara at the southern point of the site. Amara is luxury single-family detached, ranging in sizes from 2,660 to 3,270 square feet, offering 4 to 5 bedrooms. And many of these homes along the southern edge will have views not just to the south, but also to the east and west. Architectural styles range from contemporary interpretations of Spanish, Ranch, and Monterey. exterior embellishments of stone, siding, and stucco in a variety of color schemes. That's a brief overview of
Thank you, Dave. Okay, and that concludes the presentation. If you have any questions, happy to answer those, and if not, we'll move.
Mark, you have some questions?
I think this was answered in the presentation, but the very first is the one in backwards order to speak, but is that
Tonight, the first Amara, the most focused to the south.
so will that be the first one that you'll start constructing, or do they?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm sure you've done your marketing research, and these are what you've come up with, that's probably the most popular, and you figure there'll be a waiting list to get into them. But let's say after the first phase, and I think each neighborhood is different and have different homes, so that probably will answer the question. Is there a provision that, let's say, model number one is selling like hotcakes, but these other ones aren't doing so well, that we can, for the next neighborhood, maybe make modifications, or are we pretty much figuring that's as we've covered all, we've got condos, we've got all sorts, that'll take care of that?
Yeah, I think the concept is that we've got the 6 different neighborhoods that would cover all the different segmentation, what we call it. I think we do have the ability to go back if a floor plan isn't selling, that we could go back and make some revisions to those floor plans and build less of them, and we typically can do something like that. I think there are some provisions in the conditions I think I was reading last night that allows us to do that.
And then the thing about the spaces, the numbers were all the street parking and does not count the garage parking, or it does count the garage parking?
Well, in total, it covered everything that was required as far as parking, so some of that is covered within the garages that account for the overall requirements per the Lake Forest Municipal Code.
Okay, so whatever that, and if you had 90 whatever parking places, that's 2 per house is in the garage, so you minus that, and then that's not necessarily the street. That's
I think I'd like to hold the rest of the questions for the formal public hearing, if we could. That'd be okay?
Okay.
Thank you very much
Very
for your
good. Thank you.
presentation, Jim. And if it's okay if we go ahead now with the formal hearing, or?
Okay, so we'll start the public hearing on item number 4, tentative tract 18162, and use permit for the subdivision 101 single-family residential units. And Amanda Loffer is the project planner, and she has a report this evening.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. This item is a single-family residential neighborhood called Amara in the new Serrano development. This is the first of 6 residential neighborhoods in Serrano Summit that will be presented to the Planning Commission. This project consists of a tentative tract map and a use permit for the subdivision and development of 15.23 acres in the southerly portion of the Serrano Summit development. Pursuant to the Serrano Summit area plan, a use permit is required because the applicant is proposing an exception to the development standards for rear and front yard setbacks. The tentative tract map proposes to subdivide the 15.23 acre property into 102 numbered lots for 101 single-family units and a private community recreation center, and 17 lettered lots for common area landscaping and private streets. The private community recreation center will be presented to the Planning Commission at a future meeting. The proposed development includes 101 2- and 3-story detached single-family units, each with an attached 2-car garage. The residents have 4 floor plans that range in size from 2,600 to 3,300 square feet. There are 3 different architectural styles proposed for each floor plan, which include Spanish, Monterey, and Ranch. Each architectural style includes 3 different color schemes for a total of 9 color schemes throughout the neighborhood. Landscaping, including trees, shrubs, vines, and ground cover, is proposed in the front yards of each home and in the common area landscaping throughout the neighborhood. The common area landscaping will be maintained by the Homeowners Association, while the front yard landscaping and future landscaping for each residential unit will be maintained by the future homeowner. The applicant is also requesting to install vinyl fencing between interior residential lots, except where masonry walls are required by the fire department for fuel modification zones. All side yard returns and privacy walls along neighborhood streets are comprised of masonry walls as required in the area plan. This project includes a request for an exception to the development standards for front and rear setback requirements for 57 lots. The proposed exceptions to the front setback requirements occur on 4 lots that are located along a street corner curve and encroach a maximum of 18 inches into the required 10-foot setback. The proposed exceptions to the rear setback requirements occur on 56 lots and encroach 24 inches into the required 15-foot setback. The associated floor plans for the affected lots offer expanded outdoor living areas on the first and second floors, including second floor view decks, which enhance outdoor additional living opportunities. The proposed exceptions are minor in nature, and only a small section of the living area will not meet the front and/or rear setback requirements. Additionally, all lots will remain under the maximum lot coverage permitted in the area plan. Overall, the project, with the approval of the use permit, will be in compliance with the City Zoning Code and Serrano Summit Area Plan. Staff is recommending the Planning Commission adopt 2 resolutions to approve the tentative tract map and the use permit for this project. The applicant is in the audience, and I will be happy to answer questions that you have. Thank you.
Commissioner, any questions of staff? Anybody have any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I guess I'm going to have one. On the, hang on a second, let me put my mind back to where I got. Well, I was on Ranch Plan 2, okay? We can get into the architecture of that. I just got one question with regard to it, because I was trying to figure out, and seeing it, it looks like almost a door entry on the second level, and it just seemed, it's the only thing that I found a little different, and not knowing what it's comprised of, it sort of just struck me a little different. And that's the vertical, it looks like it's right above, if I can get to the pictures.
Are you on Spanish or the modern?
It's the ranch. The ranch. It's Plan 2. When you look at the I saw it up there. It takes too long to load. On the ranch, it's on the floor, and I believe it's above the garage, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. Not that one. Not that one. It's the. Oh shoot! I'm not going to be able to find it. Hang on.
Would you give your name and city of residence, please?
I was just curious. I don't know what the element. Vertical. Okay.
Yeah. My name is Obitz. I represent KTGY Group Architects and Planners. My residence is Lake Forest, California. Go Lake Forest.
Good. Yeah.
27 years.
Yeah, it just struck me as I was looking at it. It just seemed to be a little different, having that vertical element on the second floor. It almost looks like it's a door entrance to the top of the garage. But I don't know what it's consisting of. So.
It's working with the floor plan and the elevation, the massing, and right the two-dimensional rates to the third-dimensional plan to the elevation. So there's some part of that second floor that cantilevers or hangs over the front of the garage.
Okay.
So we're treating it, depending on the style, we're treating it more as almost like a bay window or a projecting element. And in the Plan 2 ranch, we have this wide horizontal banding, kind of a bulkhead, if you will. And it's a contemporary interpretation of it. And then the window is recessed, pushed back from that. So we're trying to get a higher level of articulation, so it's just not a flat plane, but there's some ins and outs and different material articulation there. If I'm thinking what you're seeing right there.
Okay, here it is. Here it is. I'm on page 129 of our report, and it's, this is actually the 3, but it's the same as Spanish. I guess maybe I wrote it down properly. Plan 3A Spanish. And above the garage element, this is on page 129 for those that are...
Plan 3?
Item number 4. It just struck me as a little different when you see you got the 2 windows on the side and that in the
Plan
center.
3. Yeah.
So I don't know what the elements are in, but I've noticed it in plan all the way through that it's handled the same way. And to me, I can't see it. It looks as though I can't determine whether it's set back, inset.
Yes, it is a bedroom and a secondary bedroom and a closet, I believe. And so that window that you see centered right above the garage, that's a recessed window. So there'll be a shadow line there and a color break there. Again, it's a more kind of modern or contemporized interpretation
Maybe
of the Spanish.
Maybe it's a modern contemporary aspect of it.
Of the Spanish style.
That was the only thing that I saw in all the architectural plans that stuck out, and it wasn't my favorite component of it. It looks as though there's a door in the center of the second floor. Really, with the below the window.
I hear you. Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
That was just an initial impression. I guess I'm more accustomed to a horizontal rather than a vertical. How old are you? Okay, so I'm old.
Me too.
But anyway,
I think we're about the same age.
I just, for whatever reason, that one just stood out, and it was something that just didn't give me a warm fuzzy. Okay, just so you guys are designing it, so it's not up to me to design it, but that one bothered me just a little bit. Okay, just wanted to point that out.
Appreciate that.
The other thing I was curious about was the 51, 57 units they're going to have. I looked through the plan because initially I thought, oh my gosh, these things are going to be back to back, and if you had positioned where they were reversed back to back, you'd have the offset and the offset on the same area. But I noticed in your plan you have alternated them all the way through the deal. So, and that is open space below, and above is a balcony. So that was my concern. I just didn't want. I was hoping not to see them straight across from one another. But you have gone through your plan, and I've seen it that it undulates, or it's alternated each time. So that one doesn't give me too much angst. It's not that massive of a change. Will there be what I'm concerned about is someone trying to enclose that. That all of a sudden now, instead of having, it won't feel as big, but if it is ever enclosed, feel to that back of the house, that would be the only concern.
And I believe your staff took that into consideration, and there is a condition within the condition of approvals that
they remain open?
States it needs to remain open. So we will add that to the CC&Rs.
Very good.
And obviously, if a homeowner did want to do that, they'd have to pull a building permit. So.
Excellent. With regard to the CC&Rs, I believe I saw something in there that there is a time frame to put the landscaping in the front, but I didn't note. I think I remember seeing it mentioned that there was going to be in the CC&Rs a time frame for the complete. Also,
typically, we give 6 months for the front yards,
right,
and 9 months for the rear yards.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah, the CC&Rs haven't been completed yet, but that's typically what we put in there.
As long as that was, there's more important. But I've surprisingly, even in my association, after 30 years, some of the backyards are not completed. But that's on us. That's the CC&R enforcement we didn't do. But that's fine. That's the only questions I had. I like the parking at 4.74. Okay. That should be taken into consideration the increase that families are incurring at this point in time. So I like that parking standard much better.
So do we.
Good.
Okay. Thank you.
I do have one quick question as to the timeline of, ideally, if everything worked perfectly, when you foresee the first phase of this starting to get constructed, and when you see, like, the entire neighborhood being completed, and where that just get an idea for phases and how that works.
Yeah, that's a bit of a Rubik's Cube, so to speak, for us. Both, the challenges that we have is both horizontally and vertically. So horizontally, getting the infrastructure in the ground, getting the sites graded, and utilities in the ground to allow us to make our connections, and so it's a very complicated process. But long story short, this neighborhood, Amara, that we're talking about right now, is the most traditional single-family detached neighborhood of the 6 neighborhoods. It had the least amount of movement in the overall site plan from the time that we bought it from IRWD until now. So it's allowed us to hit the ground running with that one and move forward, and that's why we're here tonight. The other neighborhoods, we had a little more challenges in making the parking work and just making all the lots and the streets line up and stay within substantial conformance. So that's one of the reasons I had mentioned earlier in my presentation that we're kind of stepping through here over the next 4 or 5 months with Amara tonight and Soria next meeting, and then the following, because those are a little more complex and take a little bit more time. But from a timing standpoint, with an approval tonight, and we're moving forward with our, at risk at this point with our architectural submittals, with the idea that we can get the architecture with our phase 1 construction started as soon as possible for Amara, which would be the first one that we would start. I think right now, we're looking at a start. Gosh, I'm drawing a blank right now. I think, were we looking at September? Yeah, I didn't want to misspeak. You can tell it's drilled in everyone's brain, but September for that one. And so we would be starting models in September, and then Soria, which is the neighborhood 2 that's adjacent to it. Our models are going to be directly across the street from one another. So I think with our ability to get our infrastructure in our streets, we could potentially start those models at the same time. So neighborhood 2 and 3, which are the 2 at the south, would be starting in September. And then the 4 neighborhoods that are to the north, those models would probably not be starting until January of next year. And then your question about the community center, we're going to be bringing that in front of you at the next meeting, or I guess this is March, so at the May hearing for approval of the rec center. We're also processing our building plans at the same time concurrently, and we're hoping that with an approval here in 2 months, and our building plans are kind of tracking to be approved in August, that we could start the community center in August. Okay. And our challenge with community centers are that they just take a really long time to build, between the pools and everything that go into them and the buildings. They typically, the community center that we just completed around the corner here over in Irvine at Altair took us 12 months to build. And this will probably be somewhere in that same neighborhood, best case 11 months. So if we start August of this year, we won't be done until summer of next year. And, for us, the community center is such a focal point of the community, and from a marketing standpoint and a marketing window, and it's really key for us to get that completed as fast as we can. So we're going to be going as fast as we can, but still, if all things line up, it's probably not going to be done until next summer, following summer. And our potentially, our models at Amara, if we start in September, we would probably be done in the January, February neighborhood. So a little bit ahead of our community center, but I think the rest of the models will probably line up more with when we complete our community center.
Yeah.
And then we're also tying in the parks to as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, thinking of parks, what made you think of putting, other than I a few letters?
We found it's just really become very popular. We typically put in a couple of tennis courts, and we're finding that the tennis courts aren't being used, and there seems to be people asking about pickleball courts or converting tennis courts to pickleball. We'll be proposing when we bring that forward.
Do you envision any of your any of the projects to have more of a, I don't want to say senior but an older community, or 55?
None of the 6 neighborhoods here are targeted to a 55 in a market, but it's not to say that there won't be many.
Yeah. All right. Great. Thanks.
We're trying to keep, the intent here was to try to keep the price point down, so that our price, on our entry level neighborhood, to try to keep that at the 600,000 range. If we, it's so hard to predict where the market will be when we finally come to the marketplace with that. But our intent with that particular neighborhood 5 was to be able to come in the $550,000 to $600,000 range. But again, I can't be quoted on that because we just don't know where it would be. But ideally, our target for this Serrano Summit community would be to be in that $600,000 to $1 million range for all 6 neighborhoods. And that's what our market studies are telling us at this time.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Anything else?
One.
All right.
Yeah, I notice in here, and I'm glad this is being considered because it's necessary. A provision ensuring that the residential parking garages are going to be stored.
Yes, that's always a challenge that we have, especially when we're building attached homes with alleys and things like that.
Right.
And with 2-car garages, we all know that we all accumulate a lot of stuff, and especially when people first move in, they tend to have a lot of stuff, and we take that very seriously. We put language in our CC&Rs that allows us to enforce to make sure that people are only using their garages for vehicles and not for storage. We've learned, and I've learned in some of my recent communities, that it's been helpful to put windows in all of our garages so that we can actually look in windows. And we put that in the CC&Rs, and we tell people that we will be checking, and it doesn't always go over well, but we'll send a letter out a week in advance to people, just letting them know that there's going to be someone from the HOA walking around and peeking in garages. It's sad that it has to get to that, but there's always a few that just don't follow the rules, and it hurts the whole community.
Well, Well, I'm glad to see that it's actually going to be put into the CCNRs. Enforcement is another thing, but at least it's an attempt to address.
Yeah, enforcement is always difficult, but, we put in our rules and our regulations the ability to fine people, to bring them to hearings and to fine them, to tow vehicles, and the developers is to make sure that when we prepare our Department of Real Estate budgets, that we think about that up front and we have adequate money in the budget and those types of things.
And I think I noticed these are private streets, correct?
Yes.
Okay, very good.
So, is this a gated? They're just private.
There will not be any gates.
Okay.
But the streets will be.
So the enforcement, there won't be any traffic enforcement because it's private streets. So the city, the sheriff's department will not enforce the vehicle code or whatnot for the private streets.
Correct. With private streets, it has to be through.
Bumps in there, you can where you can on the city street, I assume too.
You can unless the fire authority says something.
Well, yeah, but in private streets is different than public streets.
They actually, in Lake 2, they do service us. So
Right. Well, that's a contract thing between.
No.
It's
a phone call.
Well, yeah.
There's no contract.
Well, there has to be to allow the sheriff to patrol.
We posted.
Well, anyway, but just
Okay.
Thanks.
Any other questions from any more other commissioners? Do we have any public speakers, Jennifer?
No, we do not.
Chair, if I may, Chair and Commissioners, I'd like to clarify that staff's intent was that Lennar's presentation, the PowerPoint slides were meant to be part of the public hearing, and so when you are making your decision, you can, incorporate elements from the information that they gave you, and it was to give you context as to Amara and this item.
Thank you. If there's no further, do we want to bring this matter back up here?
Yep.
Go ahead. We need a recommendation.
I'm pleased with it. I see that they've made attempts to address some of our major issues, primarily the parking issue. I think staff's done a good job working with them to do it. I'd appreciate if somebody take a peek at that one architectural deal. It just make sure that I'm not imposing an old-fashioned thought on a new deal. But I think people will realize that that view is valuable to them. I think it's a good job. I really do. Very pleased with it. So if there's no other, I'd like to move we close the public hearing. Now, do we have to address these with two, or can we do them just as one?
I believe we're taking them separate items.
Okay. Then I'd like to first close the public hearing and then make the finding to approve the tentative tract map.
I'll second.
Now let's go ahead and vote.
Chair and Commissioners, if I may, it's the item is a tentative tract map as well as a use permit.
As well as the use permit, as stated. Yep.
Go ahead and vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
And then I guess the second motion would be then to, what's the resolution for the approving the permit for the development of the residence?
No, we got both the use permit and the tentative map in the first motion. We have another tentative map on the agenda. It's a completely different item.
Completely different item. Okay, that's it.
Do you want to just vote right now on the next one, or shall we hear it?
I think I better hear it first.
Can I take her out?
Okay. Okay, you want to go ahead to the second one?
Yes, okay, so this is item 5 is also a public hearing, tentative tract map 18189. It's in the northern portion. It's a little bit different type of map. There's no associated with it. But at this point in time, I'd like to introduce Debbie Dressler. She's a contract planner with the firm MIG, and she's been with us probably for 3 months now, working exclusively and diligently on Lennar projects, and we've kept her very busy. Debbie has had numerous municipal planning assignments over the years, including the County of Orange, Newport Beach, and Mission Viejo. So welcome, Debbie. And Debbie has a staff report for this item.
Mine's not as glamorous as the other one. Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. This is the second tract map located in Serrano Summit before you tonight. Tract map 18189 is a request to further subdivide the approximately 26 acres in the northern portion of Serrano Summit. As illustrated on your attached plans, the map creates 5 numbered lots for residential condominium purposes and 8 letter lots for the common area, landscaping, private streets, and a half-acre park. Additionally, the map establishes the applicable backbone infrastructure, which includes the location and the layout of the private streets and the location of existing and proposed infrastructure lines and facilities. Tentative tract map 18189 is for the division of land only and was prepared in conformance with the Subdivision Map Act and the Municipal Code. Approval of this map will allow the developer to perform several site improvements while concurrently preparing the site development permits or use permits for the development, which will be coming back before you at a later date. Overall, the map is in substantial conformance with the approved Serrano Summit Area Plan and Final Map 17331. The internal residential lots 1 through 5 and the public park, Lot H, are accessed via Olympus Avenue south of the project site and Civic Center east of the subject site. The internal streets meet the minimum right-of-way width requirements, and the public park is consistent with the minimum 1/2 acre lot size. Therefore, staff is recommending approval that the Planning Commission adopt the attached resolution. 9. Thank you.
Do we have questions from for staff? We'll open the public hearing. Do we have any speakers for this?
No, we do not.
And we'll bring it back up here and look for a recommendation.
Are we ready to close the public hearing? Motion to approve 18189. So moved.
Second.
Let's vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Congratulations, you got them all. Welcome to Lake Forest. Okay, we'll move on to item number 6 on the agenda, which is the Planning Commission calendar. And do we have any comments from staff on that?
No, we'll be looking for a motion.
Motion to accept the calendar for 2019.
I second.
May I ask a question on it? Is this is also setting the due time as part of this?
No, this is still at 7 o'clock. The City Council has yet to hold their, they asked us to go back to all 3 commissions to see if a time change was warranted, and so they have not considered that yet. We have the answer from the 3 commissions. It's scheduled for an agenda in April, and also scheduled on the agenda for the City Council is the recommendation from the Planning Commission at the annual report that quarterly reporting be allowed if necessary, so we're still waiting for that item as well.
Let's vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, I guess we're down to director's comments.
Okay, I only have one comment this evening. I just wanted to let you know I'll be trying to arrange a Civic Center tour. I don't believe any of the commissioners have been out on the site, but the buildings are well on their way. You can actually walk inside. There's some temporary construction stairs that go up to the 2nd level of the administration building. You can get a feel for the community center, the senior center, how all of the buildings work together, and it would be really exciting for you to have the opportunity to see it now. We anticipate moving into the building in sometime in September or October. So it's really moving along. The entire steel frame structure, all the structures are up, and they're making great progress. So we'll do that now that we're in daylight savings time, and we'll have the opportunity to go over there before a planning commission meeting.
And and the plan too is then we'll still meet in the council chambers and we switch off and all that.
We'll have to work out the logistics, whether it's going to be a special meeting, whether we do it as a tour, whether we go 2x2.
Well, I mean, just our planning commission meetings will be in the council chambers as
at the new city hall? Yes, as a matter of fact, you can see the council chambers. It's well on its way. It's probably the furthest along of all the buildings, and we have rake seating that goes down, and it's a very different setup from what we have now, but you'll get a feel for that as well.
Our private parking stalls will be, we can look at those at that point. Thanks.
Okay, we have city attorney comments?
No comment.
Okay, commissioners, we'll start with Commissioner Armando.
No comment. The comment is that I'm looking forward to, it looks like we got a lot of things on the horizon. I'm looking forward to moving forward and looking forward to that tour of the new city hall. It'll be great.
Vice Chair Carter?
My compliments to staff. I was very impressed with the presentation and how it was all put together. Very succinct, very clear. Once again, when I had a question, all I had to do was read at least no more than 3 paragraphs ahead and found out that the question I had was in fact answered. Lennar did an excellent job, I believe, in laying out their properties, because I think they took into consideration our concerns. Parking, I think, is the best I've seen so far, trying to address that. And with the offsets, I think the way they handled it was admirable. So great job to everybody.
Commissioner Fuentes?
I would just ditto Dave. Thank you.
Commissioner Barajas?
I just want to say, I think Lake Forest is doing an amazing job keeping up with our housing development and meeting the needs of current residents to hopefully, from a younger perspective, when I was looking for my condo, there was 2 options that were in my price range, and I had to make the offer within an hour of seeing them because they both went away. And so the fact that we're one of the few cities that are actually moving forward with development, and it's being done correctly, and it's being done amazingly, and it's opening up opportunities to let the younger people who grew up in Lake Forest to be able to stay here when they come back from college, I think that's amazing, and I'm really proud to be part of that, and really excited to be on this commission to be able to have a voice in keeping that moving forward. So thank you guys so much.
Could I, Chair, just jump back into director comments? Because I forgot to mention that on Tuesday night, the City Council, most of the meeting is going to be devoted to looking at land use themes for the general plan. So we've got the General Plan Advisory Committee looked at the report last week. We have a series of recommendations, and so it will be very interesting. It's just a great opportunity if you wanted to participate in the process or, view it on Facebook, but it should be a good meeting.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Can I ask a question? Gail, with regard to that, I'm glad that's going to them, because that one is really going to be a challenge for them to get through. I'm curious, in that particular process, we're going with the redo of the general plan. When are we going to get into some discussion of realizing that property values are increasing, the price of homes are increasing, etc.? One of the things that dawned on me was there should be some alternatives possibly the city should look into to assist in some of the other expenditures that young couples encounter. One being the biggest problem they have is the price of the home that they're moving into. Secondarily, if they decide to have a family, they get hit with the biggest one, the big nut that they have to crack, and that's child care. And I don't know if we have anything on schedule in that plan review to discuss possibilities of such things as child care facilities, Boys and Girls Club, YMCA, those types of venues that can offset some of that secondary cost of home ownership, which is the raising of your kids. So I'd like to make sure that we, at some point get into that.
Yeah, that would be appropriate to cover in policies. And so when we get into different elements and start talking about policies such as encourage the use of this and this, or study this, or look for ways, those are all policy statements that you'd find in the general plan.
All right.
Not necessarily an action, but a direction that this is important and we should follow these things, and that would be in the policy section.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Gail. That's what I want to know.
Any other comments? I would just like to say I really appreciate the job that staff did tonight in putting together these presentations with Lennar. That was very well done and very informative. And your presentation packets and all that was very, very well done and very detailed. And I appreciate that effort. And thanks to all of the staff for all the good work that you do here. And it's really a pleasure to work with all of you commissioners. I think we do a great job together. Thank you. And we'll adjourn until April 11th.